There are people who move quietly in the background, those who don't speak often, but when they do, the room listens. They don't rush to prove themselves, yet everything they do seems carefully designed, like they've already considered every consequence. These people don't just know things. They live differently. And when you watch them closely, you realize intelligence isn't just what they say, it's how they carry themselves through the storms of life. Why do some people stay calm while others collapse under pressure? Why does a single person's opinion make us question ourselves so deeply, while others stand unshaken like a mountain? Why do the most intelligent people seem so still, so focused, and so free from the chaos that traps the rest of us? The answer is not in talent. It is in how they think, and more importantly, in how they respond to life. Let's take a simple example. Picture someone being insulted in public. Most people would lash out or get defensive. But the intelligent one? They remain still. Not because they are weak, but because they know their value does not shrink when someone else fails to see it. That's the power of self-mastery. That's the wisdom few ever discover. Welcome to Book Boost, a channel where we go deeper, not louder. If you're someone who seeks quiet strength, powerful habits, and timeless philosophy to build a better life, you're home. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe if you're ready to grow wiser each day. And one more thing, drop your one thought about believe in yourself in the comments below. We read every word, and your voice matters here. In this video, we'll walk through what truly sets an intelligent person apart, not just in knowledge, but in action, in self-control, and in how they move through the world. These are not tips. These are principles. Built from the ancient minds of Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and lived through the fire of real human experience. Let's walk that path together. Silence over noise, the art of knowing when not to speak. There is a kind of power that cannot be seen in titles, money, or loud voices. It is not found in arguments won or in attention gathered. It lives quietly, almost invisibly, in those who know how to stay silent when others speak, in those who don't rush to respond, in those who understand that not every thought deserves to be shared, not every moment needs a reaction, and not every noise needs to be answered. That power is rare. That power is real. And it is one of the signs of true intelligence. Most people believe they must always speak to prove their worth. They believe silence means weakness, that staying quiet makes them look less important. But the intelligent person knows something deeper, something most never discover. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is space. Space to think. Space to observe. Space to understand before responding. And that space is where wisdom is born. Think of a time when someone insulted you. Maybe they tried to challenge your beliefs. Maybe they tried to pull you into a fight. What did you do? Most of us, in moments like that, want to defend ourselves instantly. We raise our voice. We explain ourselves. We react. And in that reaction, we lose a piece of ourselves. We let someone else decide how we feel, how we respond, how we carry ourselves. Now think of the person who remains still, the one who listens, who pauses, who gives no energy to provocation. That person seems untouchable, doesn't he? That person holds something that cannot be broken easily. He has mastered the space between what is said and what is done, between what is heard and what is felt. That mastery comes from the quiet strength of inner discipline, from the belief that real power is control, not over others, but over the self. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This isn't just clever advice, it's a principle that intelligent people live by. Listening gives you clarity. Speaking too soon clouds your thinking. The intelligent man understands that words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot return. So he chooses them with care or not at all. In today's world, people are quick to respond. Social media, arguments, opinions flying everywhere. Everyone wants to be heard, to shout louder, to win with words. But noise is not knowledge. Reaction is not wisdom. The Stoic mind steps back. It does not get pulled into the spinning wheel of every opinion. It watches, it waits, and when it speaks, the words land with force not because they're loud, but because they're true. Silence gives the intelligent person time to observe human nature. They see things others miss. They notice the tension in a voice, the insecurity behind a harsh word, the fear hiding in anger. Where others react to the surface, they understand what lies beneath. And because of that, they do not waste their energy. They do not get involved in every small battle. They save their strength for what truly matters. The intelligent person uses silence as a tool to calm the storm inside, to reflect, to ask, is this worth my energy? Before speaking, they consider the cost. Will these words improve the moment? Will they serve truth? Or are they just noise? If not, they choose to stay silent. Not because they are afraid, but because they are wise. There is also strength in not defending yourself. Not every attack needs a shield. Not every critic deserves a response. The intelligent person does not waste time correcting every false judgment about them. They let people speak. They let the world misunderstand. Because they know that what is true doesn't need constant defense. It proves itself in time. And the person who walks in truth does not need to shout it from rooftops. He simply lives it. Seneca once said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And silence gives us that delay. That moment to breathe. To let the first wave pass. Most mistakes happen when we speak too fast, when we act without thinking. But the intelligent man builds a wall between stimulus and response. That wall is silence. And on the other side of that wall, he finds clarity. Sometimes silence is more honest than words. It doesn't lie. It doesn't exaggerate. It doesn't try to win. It just is. When you say nothing, you are allowing your actions, your calm, your self-possession to speak for you. And that speaks louder than any argument. It's not always easy to be silent, especially when emotions rise. But that is exactly when it matters most. When others are driven by pride, ego, and rage, the intelligent person remains rooted. They know the damage that words can do when they are sharp and uncontrolled. They don't feed the fire. They don't throw fuel on the flame. They stay still. And in that stillness, they often gain something far more powerful than victory. They gain peace. To live like this requires patience, discipline, a willingness to look foolish for a moment in exchange for lasting strength. And above all, it requires the ability to be misunderstood without falling apart. But that is the path of the intelligent. Not to be loud, but to be grounded. Not to win arguments, but to win the war within. Let others waste their energy. Let them rush to prove themselves. You walk the slower road. Be the one who speaks last, if at all. And when you do, let your words be few, but full. Let them come from a place of stillness, not noise. Let them come from understanding, not reaction. Because at the end of the day, it is not the loudest voice that leads. It is the calmest mind. It is not the person who wins every argument who is wise. It is the one who no longer needs to argue. And in the silence between one noise and the next, the intelligent person finds something more valuable than approval. He finds freedom. Thought before emotion, how the intelligent master themselves first. There is a kind of intelligence that doesn't come from books, degrees, or how fast someone can answer a question. It comes from something deeper, from stillness, from discipline, from knowing that what happens inside matters more than what happens outside. This is the kind of intelligence that allows a person to hold back when they are angry, to remain calm when others are panicking, and to think clearly when everyone else is driven by emotion. The wise person knows, if you don't control your emotions will control you. In life, we will be insulted. We will be ignored. We will be misunderstood. And every time this happens, we are given a choice. Do we react immediately, blindly, with anger or fear? Or do we take a step back, breathe, and choose how we respond? This ability to pause before reacting is not weakness. It is strength, and it is rare. Most people live like slaves to their feelings. They hear a harsh word and immediately shout back. They feel jealousy and instantly act out. But the intelligent person pauses. They observe the emotion as if it were a passing storm. They let it rise, and they let it pass. They ask themselves, is this feeling useful? Or is it trying to pull me into a trap I will regret? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. These words are simple, but they hold a secret. The greatest form of power is not in controlling others, it is in mastering yourself. The person who can stay steady when everything around them is shaking is the person everyone turns to in crisis. Not because they're louder, but because they are clear. Think about this. What happens when someone cuts you off in traffic? Most people get angry. They shout, they speed up, they let that one small moment ruin their entire morning. But the intelligent person? They might feel the anger rising, but they do not follow it. They see it for what it is, a passing feeling, not a command. That's the difference. That's wisdom in action. The Stoics believe that emotions themselves are not the problem. The problem is our attachment to them, our habit of letting them lead us instead of guiding them with reason. Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us. It's our judgment about things." You are not angry because someone insulted you. You are angry because you believe their words mean something about you. Change the belief, and the emotion dissolves. But mastering your emotions is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. The intelligent person doesn't bury their feelings. They see them. They understand where they come from. And they choose not to act from the first impulse. They know that emotions are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they pass. But if you jump on every wave, you'll never find stillness. You'll never be in control. In today's world, where we are constantly triggered by news, opinions, comments, and comparisons, emotional control is more powerful than ever. When someone disagrees with us, we take it personally. When we see someone succeeding, we feel like we're falling behind. And this constant pull of emotion leaves us exhausted. But what if you didn't have to be pulled? What if you could train yourself to pause, to reflect, to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with chaos? That's what intelligent people do. They create a space between the emotion and the action. In that space, they think. In that space, they choose. Seneca warned about this. He said, "A great mind is above insults, injustice, and abuse. Not because these things don't hurt, but because a great mind refuses to give power to them. When you give power to every emotion that rises, you become like a ship with no anchor, thrown around by every wave, never steady, never strong. But when you learn to master your emotions, you become the captain of that ship. You still feel the waves, but you do not let them decide where you go." Intelligent people also understand that emotional mastery takes practice. No one wakes up perfectly calm. No one is born with perfect patience. These are muscles, inner muscles, that grow only through use. Every time you hold your tongue when you want to scream, you become stronger. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you train your mind to be still. And slowly, your emotions become your servant, not your master. This is not about pretending to be okay when you're not. It's about owning your response. It's about realizing that your peace, your clarity, your power comes from the inside, not from the world, not from other people, just you. Look around, and you'll see how rare this is. Most people are always reacting, always defending, always proving something. But the truly intelligent walk differently. They don't chase arguments. They don't cling to drama. They rise above it, not because they think they're better, but because they've learned peace is more valuable than pride. A person who controls their thoughts before they speak, who examines their feelings before they act, who refuses to be a puppet pulled by impulse, that person is dangerous in the best way. Not because they're aggressive, but because they're free. So ask yourself, what controls you? Your thoughts or your feelings? When things go wrong, do you become part of the storm, or do you become the eye within it? When someone tries to provoke you, do you take the bait, or do you stay still and let them reveal themselves? The path of intelligent living is not flashy. It is quiet. It is calm. It is deliberate. And it starts with one decision: to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, to choose clarity over chaos. This is the foundation of Stoic strength. And it is something we can all practice. Not someday, not when we feel ready, but now, in this very moment, in the next conversation, in the next challenge, in the next time our emotions try to take the wheel. Remember, emotions are visitors. You are the home. Let them come. Let them go. But never hand them the keys. Deliberate solitude. Why the intelligent seek depth over attention. There is a strange power in stepping away from the crowd. Not running away, but stepping back on purpose. In silence, in solitude, in the quiet corners of the day where no one is watching, no one is cheering, and no one is asking anything from you. That is where a thinking person begins to build their real strength. Most people fear being alone. They run from silence like it's some kind of punishment. The noise of others, the opinions, the constant updates, the rush, it becomes a drug. But the intelligent person does something very different. They don't run toward noise. They walk into the stillness. They choose solitude, not because they hate people, but because they understand one thing. You can't hear your own thoughts when the world is always shouting. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And he was right. Our worst pain often comes not from what happens to us, but from what we tell ourselves when we're distracted, disconnected, and overstimulated. That's why those who live with wisdom carve out space for solitude, not once a year, but often. They do it to slow the racing of the mind, to sharpen the blade of their thoughts, and to come back stronger. Look around today. You'll see many who chase visibility. They want to be seen, noticed, validated. But intelligence isn't proven by how many eyes are on you. It's revealed by how deeply you see yourself. And you can't do that in the spotlight. You do it in the shadows. The person who embraces solitude is not avoiding life. They're preparing for it. There's a kind of peace that doesn't come from success. It comes from understanding your own mind. You don't get that from scrolling, reacting, or competing. You get it by sitting with your thoughts, even the painful ones. Especially the painful ones. Because when you learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you stop being controlled by it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. That's not just poetic. That's practical. Because when the world becomes too loud, the intelligent person doesn't look outward. They turn inward. They know that true clarity comes not from more noise, but from less. And in that less, they find more than others ever will. Sometimes people will misunderstand this behavior. They'll say, "Why are you so quiet? Why don't you go out more? Why are you always thinking?" But the intelligent person does not defend themselves. They don't argue. They don't explain their peace to those who've never experienced it. Instead, they carry on. Because they're not trying to fit in. They're trying to grow. There is strength in choosing solitude when everyone else is chasing crowds. There is wisdom in taking time to think when others are too busy reacting. There is depth in reading, reflecting, journaling, and just being. Not every hour has to be filled. Not every space has to be loud. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. And this kind of solitude doesn't require you to live in the mountains or retreat from the world. It means learning how to be alone in a room without feeling lonely. It means being okay with your own company. It means turning off the noise, even for a few moments, and asking yourself, what kind of life am I really building? That one question, in silence, can be worth more than 100 conversations. Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. This is the price of thinking deeply, of stepping back, of not always doing what everyone else does. The intelligent person accepts this price because they know what they are protecting, their mind. And when the mind is steady, so is the life. Many chase validation, but validation is a hungry guest. You feed it once, it always returns. Solitude, on the other hand, teaches you that you don't need applause to feel grounded. You don't need attention to feel worthy. When you can sit quietly with yourself and feel no urge to escape, that's when you've found real inner wealth. We live in a time where being seen is treated as success. But the intelligent person knows, being known by others is less important than being understood by yourself. You can have followers and still be lost. You can be surrounded and still feel empty. But if you've learned to sit still, breathe deeply, and reflect, you are not lost. You are found. So we seek solitude. Not out of fear, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. We do not fear being alone. We fear living a shallow life. And that fear pushes us to think, to grow, to see more clearly. We walk the path of solitude not because it is easy, but because it is true. And through this solitude, something powerful happens. We stop reacting. We start responding. We don't follow the crowd, we lead ourselves. We don't crumble when ignored, we stay rooted. Because our peace no longer depends on the outside world. It comes from within. This is what sets the intelligent apart. They are not just smart. They are stable. They are not just knowledgeable. They are thoughtful. And in a noisy world, their silence speaks louder than 1,000 voices.